because this is actually what I was going to do 2 weeks ago. So I kind of saved my notes from it. And I wanted to go over how to share your story. I'm going to get, if everybody can just kind of mute yourself if there's some background noise where you're at so that we don't get the feedback on the video, that would be fantastic. And we'll go from there. So there's lots of different ways to share your story, and I think a lot of time we make it out to be a lot more difficult than it needs to be. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. Yeah, it's scary, right? Because it's something you're opening up and you're sharing, some deep stuff often. Our stories are private and, hi Susie Q, and can be difficult to share. So it's not easy. But I think often we feel like we have to share all of our story at once. And we don't. That's a misconception. Last week I talked really quick about, at the end of the call, about breadcrumbing our story and telling just little bits of our story, and kind of bringing our readers or our followers or readers in to find out more, because they want to hear like what happened next. Do you have to tell your story in order? No. Can you? Yes. And the thing to remember too is that as you're growing your following in your business, you're getting new people. So you want to retell your story. And that's what I think a lot of us forget, is that we tell it, we put it out there, and then that's it. But we don't want that to be it. You should be telling your story in full, at least I say once every month, if not a little bit more often. And you should be breadcrumbing parts of your story almost daily, really, because you want to, people are following you for a reason, and you're connecting with people because they connect with your story. That's what does it. So last week I talked about my story. So you guys know, I've struggled with my weight for as long as I can remember. I remember being like, I don't know, in grade 5 and not getting a juice box in my lunch, and the other kids got one because my mom had me on a diet. And I remember going to Weight Watchers in early high school. I may have even been like grade 8. And all the different diets that I've done and gained and lost and gained and lost. And then part of my journey is, getting married, and then my marriage not being the happiest. And then I had a miscarriage at 20 weeks. That was a big, tough part of my life. And my story is just continuing, right? Like right now, you guys know, and thank you for all of your messages and support and sweetness, because it's much appreciated. But I lost my best friend last week. And so that's part of my story. Part of my new story is I'm actually working a lot on reading up on food freedom and intuitive eating and loving your body. And my journey is taking a turn. I'm getting away from the dieting aspect of things. It's not easy figuring out how that's going to fit into my Beachbody coaching, but I know it will, and I'm working on it. So our stories are always growing every day, right? And so we need to remember to go back and connect to the past part of our stories, but continue to share the new stuff, because we're always evolving, we're always changing, and we're always going to connect with different people as we change. The Leslie I am today was really different than the Leslie that started coaching 5 years ago. And the way that I see my story is different too. So although my past hasn't changed, the way I view it and the impact it's had on my present self has changed. Does that make sense? So the way I tell it changes. So a couple of things. First of all, on your page, on your like page, do you guys all know that there's an about section? In that about section, you should have your story. So if you need ideas or you want to see how I did it, you can check out mine, Leslie Phillips Fitness. You can check my about section and kind of see how I've done that. Also, did you know that if you click on your banner picture, there's a comment section? Did you guys know that? So on your like page, if you click on your banner, it'll come up and you can put in a comment. I commented in there my story. So if people click, so on my banner, it actually says click here for more information. So when they click it, it just opens up the about section. So it gives people more of my story. And then that's my story all at once. And then through my posts, I breadcrumb. So about 2 months ago, now the girl's name's going to go out of my head. A woman did the national call and she was so good. And she talked about she was one of the new coach stories. And she talked about how she shares her stories and a post schedule for her like page. And I loved it. And I've shared it before on one of the calls. But to give you an idea, I use her kind of topics and I use them to share my story. So for example, on Monday, she talks about, she makes like a fitness post. So why did she, work out today? How did she manage to get out of bed? And talk about the objections. So when I make that post, I connect that to my story. So it could be, while I was doing my workout today, I started feeling super frustrated. And then I remembered how it felt to try to do those moves when I was 225 pounds and how it feels now. So now I've connected and started talking about the beginning of my story, of the beginning of this journey, right? So I pulled my story in. Some of the posts that she does are about self-confidence. So that could be a part of your story, 10 years ago when I was heavy and I could bear, like, seriously, I remember it was right near Christmas time because Maddie was born in February, beginning of February. I remember parking in that expectant mothers parking at the mall, like the special spots right at the front. And I remember literally waddling in. I remember going online and looking at the mall map to see where the store was that I had to go to and seeing where I could park so I could be the closest so I didn't have to walk, because it actually hurt me to walk because I was so heavy on my ankles. Like, it just was killing me. So, I might talk about how that girl wouldn't have had the confidence to, stand up on stage and MC a GTA Market Council event. And now look what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? It can be something big like that. It could be something small, like standing in the line at the grocery store and starting up a conversation with the person in front of you because they have a cute baby. I talk to everyone. Jay's constantly making fun of me. He's like, oh my God, you talk to strangers. And I do everywhere I go. And I'll start and then I'll just look at him and he'll be like, here's again. I talk to everybody. I can't help it. Yeah, Brian, you love it. I learned a lot of it from you, sir. So that has to do with confidence. If you're not confident, you're not going to do that. Like when I supply teach, now I go, before I used to sit in my classroom and eat lunch because I wasn't confident of going and talking to other people. Now I go in the staff room and chat people up. And so that's, again, see how it's sharing my story because I'm comparing it back to times. On Wednesday, she talks about a pain point. So think about, some of the painful times in your life. So it could be a big one. It could be like me sharing about my miscarriage or about, my marriage ending, or it could be about, you seeing a picture of yourself, or you hearing how you speak to yourself in your head and being like, I don't want to treat myself like this anymore. It could be something like that. Like, there's so many different things. The possibilities are endless. And all of that is part of your story. How you talk to yourself and how you treat yourself is part of your story. It doesn't have to be this big dramatic. Yeah, you know what? I've lost 85 pounds. And so my story is kind of dramatic. But like, look at other people in here who don't have that as dramatic stories. Steph, for example, Steph was super fit when she started coaching. She had already competed in bodybuilding things. But she has done an amazing job of sharing her story. And it doesn't have to be like fat to fit. Do you know what I mean? It can be the inside. It should be, actually, more so, in my opinion. It should be about the inside because that's the big impact, right? On Thursday, she talked about doing a payday post. What you're spending your income on. I connect mine to my story. So it could be, signing Kylie up for cheerleading. And that's what I used my paycheck this week for, was like her next session of recreational cheer. And then I could talk about how when I was a kid, I would never have done that stuff because I thought I was fat. And the kids made fun of me for being fat. And when I looked at my pictures, now I'm like, I wasn't fat. Those freaking jerk kids. But, like that's part of my story. See how I connected it? And I pulled it into coaching. That's breadcrumbing. So almost every single post you do should be part of your story. So if you go to my page and you look at what I'm doing, it's all part of my story. And some of it's today's story. Some of it's 15, 20 years ago story. Some of it's 40 years ago story. Like it's just all part of it. She did a post share about how much you've grown and how far you've come. So I've already given some examples on that. She has posts about relationships and family, sharing about your relationships and your family. That's part of your story, right? For me, a big one is wanting to be a really good role model to my girls. And that's an ongoing thing in my story. I stayed in my marriage for a long time because I didn't want them to have to experience a broken family. My parents had a really happy, healthy marriage, and I didn't want them to have divorced parents. And then I realized that they felt the unhappy, whether I showed it physically, they felt it, and realized that I needed to change that. That's part of my story. I talk about being a good role model to them, showing them that I want to take care of myself, and working out. I talk about how I talk to myself and how I treat myself is how they're going to talk to themselves and treat themselves probably. So there's so many different facets, and all of that is my story. Does that make sense? So I think when we think about telling our story, we get all panicked and we're like, oh, I can't do this. It's too big. It's too hard. It's not. It's just talking. Like if you're calling your girlfriend on the phone and having a conversation, and that's the way you need to look at it. Think about somebody you're comfortable with talking to, and write it as if you're talking to them. And that's what I do. And that's how you're going to connect to people. So you'll see in my posts, like I write, at least I try to, I write as if I'm talking. So when you read my posts, it should be almost like you can hear me talking in your head as you read it. That's what you want. So me and my goofy sense of humor, hopefully people who get me will like get the posts. And that's what you want. It's like you're talking to your girlfriend because that's the level you're going to connect with people. Does that help? Yeah? Yes? Okay. So I have this document that I got from the Jessie Regan training, and I'm going to share my screen so that I can share this with you guys. Now I've got it, it's posted in the files in FitSpire, and it's called Tell Your Story. So basically what Jessie suggests is to have somebody interview you. And it's really important because my instinct was to do this, just read the questions and do it myself. It's really important not to do that, to get someone to interview you, because when someone else is asking you the questions, it just puts a different spin on it. And oh, cute puppy. Okay. So oh, so sweet. It's Lucy, right? Is that right? Yes, so cute. Okay. So these are some of the questions that Jessie Regan gave for this interview. So getting interviewed or just having a discussion with someone about your story is the most effective way to see the incredible value you have to share. The best part is there's no right or wrong answers. It's only your experience and how you want to frame and share that experience, because it's up to you, right? And that is going to allow you to reach the people you want to reach. So by learning the skill of being interviewed, I should say, the English teacher and me, and it is a skill, you'll be able to turn around and perform the exact same favor for your new team members. So you get someone to do this for you, and then as you bring new coaches onto your team, you interview them and help them start to create their story on paper, okay? So, and it talks about dark posts and things like that. So here are some of the questions. So for example, what's your story? In other words, how did you transform yourself physically, emotionally? how did you reach your true physical, emotional, spiritual potential? Number 2, what's the theme of your story? Have you been repressing your passion? Have you experienced lots of ill health, disease? Have you struggled physically, emotionally, financially? So, do you guys listen to the national wake up calls and they do their story at the beginning, right? You'll hear it. Like some of the coaches will be like, they lost everything and they were living in their cars like bankrupt, and this came along and this opportunity helped them rebuild their life. There's ones who've struggled with health issues and have been able to come back. There's ones who have military husbands and they wanted to bring them home and retire them. Do you see what I mean? So like, what's the theme of your story? For me, it's been taking care of me, really. That's kind of the theme of my story, because I always tend to be the person who takes care of everybody else, and I sacrifice me for other people. And I think a lot of people are like that because I attract people who are like me. So we're all twinsies. And part of my story, the theme of my story, has been figuring out how to be true to myself, but take care of myself too, and not feel guilty about that. What are your identification factors? So what breakthroughs do you want to help your leads and new team members have, focus on, overcome within themselves? How can you use your problems to connect with other people? And this could be people on your team, it could be strangers on your page. Why are you passionate about health and fitness? Did you guys notice I posted last week, like, what do you love about this? And Steph, you answered. Like, sometimes we forget, like, we just get, especially those of us who've been doing this for a while, you just kind of get in the rut of like doing it, and you kind of, sometimes you can lose what you love about it. So what is it? Why are you doing it? Why is this important to you? Why are you putting the effort? Why are you trying to help people? Why Beachbody? Why not something else? And then again, what's your why? So that's a big one we talk about a lot. Why you have to really connect with that in order to be able to share your story, I think. Number 6, describing the opportunities that you've produced because of coaching. It could be something little, it could be something big. There's lots of different things that we could talk about there. Number 7, describe your ideal team member. So what would they look like? What would their journey look like? What would their goals would they want to accomplish? Number 8, how do you feel equipped to help new team members reach their goals? So it's like a job interview. And so you would go through these different questions. What makes you mad? What obstacles have you had to overcome? What are the most difficult things you've done? What things do you worry about? What things are you good at? What things have you done even better at that you didn't think you would do so well at? And those are all different things. And through those questions, your story starts to come together, and a gazillion post ideas will emerge. So that's a really cool activity. So I wanted to share that with you guys, just as kind of an added bonus. So it is in the files under, I think it's called Tell Your Story. So you can check that out. And I suggest like pairing up and interviewing each other. Like, pick a time and do like an hour and do half an hour each, or do 2 different half an hour calls or whatever. Or if you don't have somebody to pair up with, get your spouse or your sister or your kid or somebody to interview you, because doing it on your own doesn't have the same effect. Anyone have any questions so far? Yes, Brian.
So after the interview, do you then, so then the person who's interviewing, you exchange that information, and then you're using that information they collected to do your posts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I did it, I paired up with someone in the training, and I like kind of typed her answers as she.
Yeah.
And then we switched like transcripts, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you have that to form posts from. And also I found I had a couple of like aha moments, for lack of a better word, in there. I was kind of like, woof, I didn't realize I was looking at it that way, and maybe I could look at it this way. And there were some things that I realized I needed to work on through my answers, and some things that I was really proud of about myself that I didn't realize either, that kind of just came out as
Mhm.
the interview went on. So it's an eye-opening experience, I think.
Yeah, might not be a bad idea, like to do a Zoom call with somebody, do the interview, and you could record it at the same time.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great idea. Then
yeah.
you can listen back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's an awesome idea. Does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, so kind of final tips to look at apart from this tell your story interview thing. When you're sharing your story, remember to do it in its entirety, but also to breadcrumb it. And you want to make sure that you're using pain points to connect with people. So moments where you experienced pain or fear or lack of confidence or those kinds of things are often moments that shape us and change us, right? They're also moments that people connect with most often. So make sure that you're sharing that stuff, and also make sure that you connect the dots. So this is what I see, I think, where a lot of people fall down, and where I've fallen down in the past too, is I would think, okay, I'm going to share this part of my story. So I would share a story, but I wouldn't connect the dots. I wouldn't bring it back into my full story. Do you know what I mean? So I would just have this story out there kind of floating. And you need to make sure that you're connecting it and tying it all in so that um, people can follow it, and so that it doesn't lose meaning. It's not just like a random story floating out there, right? Yes, it is terrifying. It is terrifying. It's scary. It's scary. Like, I remember the first time, like for a long time, I didn't share about my miscarriage. And that was something that was really devastating to me, because it was my first pregnancy. I was 21 weeks pregnant, and I went for just like a normal ultrasound, and I found out that there was no heartbeat. I was alone. Wes was in a meeting. Um, he wouldn't come and get me. His mom ended up coming to get me. Like, it was horrific. I had waited until I was like 14 or 15 weeks pregnant to tell the kids at school. Like, I was a high school teacher, and I taught in a school of 2,100 kids. They all knew me. And so I'd announced it. Everyone knew. And I felt so much shame. There's so much shame around miscarriage for some reason for women. I don't know. Like, I felt like I did something wrong. I went off work for like a whole month. I had so much trouble going back. And I just didn't really talk about it. The thing is that when I started to talk about it, I got so much strength and support from people. And so many women said to me, oh my God, I had a miscarriage too. Like, it was like people were coming out of the woodwork sharing that they had had a similar experience. And so I ended up gaining so much strength from sharing it. And I think that's what you guys will find too, because when people connect with your scary, deep, sad, terrifying stuff, they're going to tell you that, and you're going to get strength from it, because you're going to get the feeling too, someone else gets me, someone else has been through this. So you end up getting support and strength from it. Does that make sense? So it goes both ways. So you're helping people, but they're helping you right back by connecting with you on it. So it is terrifying. There's no other way about it. There really isn't. But even more is the thought. And there are so many people who care to hear your story. So many people. You just don't realize it. And I sure as hell do. So there's one right there. Right? So don't even ever think that. Especially on the personal journey.
No, but you know what I mean, though. There are days when you think you're talking to know, like, that no one's listening, right? Until someone says to you 3 months later,
Yeah.
you know, that they've been watching, or they've been whatever, or you meet someone on the street, or
Yeah.
so, yeah, like, you think no one's listening, but they are.
Yeah. Exactly. Steph, you are human. You are human. And this is hard. it's hard. The lifestyle is hard. We're heading into the holidays. It's hard. There's so much hard. So you kind of, I've been going through a similar thing, and in the back of my head, I'm like, should I be sharing this? Because I could be like, I could be defeating, like making people think, oh, I don't want to join her because like she just keeps gaining the weight back anyways, and that's what I'm going to do, and blah, blah, blah. So I've pulled back from it, but I'm kind of at the point now where I'm looking at it as a way to connect with people because it's a pain point. So my struggle and my yo-yoing is something that a lot of people connect with. And I'm always looking and researching and trying different things and trying to come at things in a different direction. And when I share that, I'm always open about I'm living and learning, and sometimes I fail. Almost always I fail. But I'm always still looking and growing, and anything that I learn, I'm going to share with everybody. And it's okay to fall down. Like right now, like I got chosen for that Shift Shop test group, and I got in like incredible shape. And then I injured my elbow. I couldn't do the workouts anymore, and I couldn't sustain that eating. It made me miserable. I was hangry. I don't want to live on chicken and broccoli. I just don't. I don't. And there's some people that are fine with that. Like Steph, I always say to Steph, don't you just want a burger? And she's like, no, I really don't. She just really doesn't. She likes living on chicken and broccoli. And I can't wrap my head around it, but she does. And the odd cannoli, that's her weakness. See, I'm telling everybody all her secrets. And she's going to watch this, so she's going to catch me. But, like people are different. I'm not like that. And when I deprive myself, look out, because I'm going to just make sure I get everything that I was deprived of. And I undo all of the work. So I know that dieting doesn't work for me. So I have to find what does. And so that's what I'm sharing. And this week's been hard. And I'm going to tell you, I've been talking with Jay about it a lot because I've really changed my journey. Since John died, I've like taken a real long, hard look at what I've been doing. And I just kind of, when somebody passes away, I don't know, there's something about it. It just really makes you kind of examine everything. And I'm just like, I need to change stuff. I need to do stuff different. So yesterday I went live and like basically told all my followers that everything that I've been doing for the last 10 years, I'm not doing it anymore. I quit. I did a video. Do you know how many people have watched that video? Like 600 people. I've never had a video watched by that many people before. And people I'm getting all kinds of messages from people. I'm getting supportive ones, but I'm also getting ones from clients who are kind of like, hey, wait a minute. Like I lost 40 pounds with you, and I think it's great. And I'm happy with the results that I got. And so I'm kind of like trying to figure out how am I going to come about this now and say, well, yeah, that's great. And it's working for you. And that's fantastic. And you're good eating chicken and broccoli. I'm just not. Do you know what I mean? Like I have to figure out my way of how to do this. And I'm learning and I'm screwing up and I'm seeing things that are wrong. Like today I did a live video, and in the video I said, I feel bad that I've led people astray and I've led them into this diet culture. That offended some people. So I have to figure out how I'm going to word things and how I'm going to like fix that, because chicken and broccoli is okay for some people, right? It's just not for me. So do you see what I mean, Steph? You have to do you and share you, and you're going to, if some people are going to look at your journey and be like, oh, she's struggling. Yeah, I don't want her as my coach. You don't want them as your clients, right? And it's hard to like think of that, but you just don't. And not everybody's going to be a fit for you. And you don't have to be perfect all the time. And maybe, eating clean is your deal. awesome. Maybe eating vegan is your deal. Like, you guys know Derek from the GTA Council. He's amazing. He's a machine. He's so into vegan, and he does all this stuff, and he shares all this stuff, and he likes to cook, and he's like fantastic. That's his jam. I would die. I would like, give me all the bacon. When I was in high school, I came home from school one day and told my mom I was going to be vegetarian, and then she was like, you can't have bacon, right? And I was like, oh, forget it. That was the end of it. So like, everyone's different. So just do you, and remember, I love this saying, everyone else's opinion of you is none of your business. So who cares? Do you. Your journey is incredible. You are incredible. You are incredible now. You're incredible if you lose another 20 pounds. You're incredible if you gain another 20 pounds. Who cares? You are awesome. And it's what you bring to the table.
I think it's the mindset though, Leslie. Like, for me, I find like, if there's a shift, for example, I struggle with my thyroid. So if there's a shift in my thyroid, which they reduced my meds in September, so I feel it, but not just physically, but mindset, right? So all of a sudden, that sharing part, like, I look back, I can see it. I just stop because I don't feel like I'm good enough to do it, right? Because it's the shift, and it's to get out of that.
You feel like a fraud right now. You feel like a fraud?
But it's not even that. It's like you're just turning your wheels, right? Because it doesn't work. Like, it's not working. I shouldn't say that. It's working because obviously I'm healthier than if I just sat there and ate. But that's, some days I think, just screw it. Like, it would be so much easier just to be fat. That's the.
Have you watched my videos the last 2 days? Have you?
No.
Okay, you need to go on and watch them, and you need to get this book.
What's that one?
Health at Every Size.
Okay, I get it. Like, believe me, I've been there.
No, but what you just said is like the entire first chapter of this book. Like, it's like you wrote it, because there's actually a huge amount of science behind the idea that dieting doesn't work, and that our bodies have natural set points, and if we get below them, your body will actually work to make you gain weight. And if you've dieted a lot in your life, it'll give you a higher set point. Yeah. Like, this is all, and it's like scientific fact. So read it. I'm still reading.
Well, it's about what I get it. It's about, like, I know what my body functions best at, and that is low carb and high protein. No carbs, actually. Like, it actually brought my resting heartbeat down 10 beats per minute when I stopped eating sugar and flour.
Holy crappers. And when are you going for your thyroid again? You're still waiting?
Next week.
Okay.
Next week. It's like 3 months, right? But I know that that's the shift.
Yeah.
I feel it as quickly mentally as I do physically.
Yeah.
And you've seen me at my low, but like, I feel it going down. Like,
you feel yourself going
now, and it's like, oh yeah, totally. And it starts with, I shouldn't say it starts with the mindset. It gets to the mindset point. Like, but I know it's like the important, and I shouldn't share, like, the thyroid, people disregard it and say, oh, you're in the normal range. Well, for most people that doesn't even apply, and it's how you feel, right? So I'm lucky I have a doctor that works with me, but the time it takes between every 3 months getting tested is enough to
make you wonky,
shift things, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and feel the difference. But
yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, I will pick up that book.
It's really good.
And I get it. Like, but what happens is it's so hard to maintain that kind of lifestyle, no flour, no sugar. And like when we went away for a weekend with another couple hunting, and that was it. It was like carb weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I fell right off the wagon in October, right? But I had been eating that way for a couple months and felt really good. And my body felt good too. And you know, when people say, oh, you're like glowing, it's like, and I know I should be eating that way, but it's like you say, like,
Hard.
okay, but I want to have a cookie once in a while.
Mhm.
I want to, but anyways, that's a whole other story. It's about balance, right? And I do believe, though, out of all of the, I want to say health initiatives, let's not say diet programs out there, but out of the health things out there, that Beachbody does give the best balance.
I agree.
In
and the most
eating
options.
and the most options, right? You can go totally right off, like no carbs kind of thing, to like if you want to eat like crazy, go on Body Beast, right?
Yeah. And that
but
new
it gives
program,
you most options. Which one?
The new one, the emotional eating program that's coming out, looks quite interesting as well. So yeah, there's tons, right? And it's how you apply it into. It can be applied into anything, I think. And Brian, I'm a little jelly that you've never been more than 150 pounds. But anyways.
Oh, fuck.
I can crush you with my thighs like a walnut. Okay.
Between the two of us, for sure.
But you know, it's all, and no, I'm not pulling
Rachel,
magic beans. That's hilarious. Leia's been emailing me again lately. She's doing something with educators and teachers. I don't know what it is.
Oh, well, they sell those growing trees.
Oh, is that what it is?
The fuck are they? The flower gardens?
That's maybe what it is.
You know, they fundraised at our school. A parent is a magic bean seller, and they bought one. I've managed to kill everything on it like 3 times. And she's like, I don't know how you do that. Like, it's the easiest thing ever. I'm like, I hate the fucking thing. I grow a garden, but I can't grow these.
Yeah,
I kill it. I swear.
It's just out of spite.
And like we've had, I totally not, because like the kids love watching it grow, and then all of a sudden, like from one day to the next, the damn thing's dead. I'm like, I didn't do anything.
I'm like that too. I don't
like it's garden. I do a garden.
I don't
garden outside, no problem. But like,
you kill the magic bean.
I've killed it like 3 times. It's like, jeez.
That's so funny.
And the kids will say, "Are we doing that this year?" I'm like, I'm not. Like, I kill it. Like, you guys have seen it.
You can.
Less than a minute.
Yes, it's gonna cut out. So thank you, everybody. I hope this helped. We kind of got off topic at the end, but I think it's all helpful, right? To see everybody's different struggles. So let's bump it out. Have a great week. Message me if you need anything. And I absolutely love you guys and all of your stories.
Good to see everybody.
Have a great week.
Yeah.
Bye,
See ya.
guys.